In this unit, we'll learn how to transform our patterns. Let's go ahead and have a look how to do so. We just show how to create a pattern and how you can actually use the pattern settings through the swatches panel just by double clicking on your pattern in order to adjust some of the features of the pattern itself. But as you probably noticed, it applies them in specific ways. So if I'm gonna try and scale my shape, it's just gonna scale the shape itself, not the pattern within. And I might want my pattern to be smaller or bigger and so on. In order to do that, you have to use the transform options. Right click and then go to transform and, for example, scale. That's going to pop you up the scale panel, which allows you to scale your objects. We already talked through that panel earlier on in the course, and we went through the different options of uniform, non-uniform scale, and transform the object, and so on. What we want to do this time is not transform our object, so we don't want to change the dimensions of the rectangle itself. What we want to change is the pattern, so transform patterns. So I'm gonna go ahead and enable transform patterns and enable as well preview so I can actually see what's going on. I prefer a uniform way of scaling since we don't really want to squeeze or anything like that our pattern, and I'm gonna go ahead and place 80% so you can see the difference, or 50%. But you can also go 120%, for example. Every time that you want to apply your number, you just press preview or anywhere else, any other kind of option, and your transformation will be applied. Let's put like 90. I think that was quite interesting. So you have a good overall look of the pattern and you press OK. We know now how to scale up and down our pattern, but I might still not be happy with the crop, so I don't want this shape to be cropped. So let's say we want to get rid of this tiny bit of a shape here at the top, so we want to move the pattern a bit up and so on. Again, you use the transform panel and this time select move, and again you have the option to transform pattern or object, and you can just play with the angle if you want, and the distance or horizontal vertical up to you in order to actually adjust your pattern. Once you're happy, you just press OK and the transformation will be applied, so the shapes will be moved left, right, up and down. And correspondingly, you can of course change your pattern with the rotate option if you want to actually turn it to a vertical or in an angle pattern, which is also quite interesting in this specific occasion. Somewhere like there, that's quite interesting. Press OK once you're happy with this transformation. Now we managed to get quite a good quality pattern since you don't find easily where the clones are, and it looks like it's kind of made by hand, so one by one the shapes, which is usually what we want to achieve on the pattern. You don't want to be able to see the clones straight away when you look at it. You want the viewer to kind of navigate a bit around the pattern to figure out where the tiles are. What you can do is push this kind of thinking even farther by modifying some specific shapes here, rotating them or changing color and so on. In order to do so, you see if I'm gonna try to click on my shape, even if I double click to get within it, I'm still within a pattern. I cannot select the shapes separately. So what I need to do is turn the pattern to shapes again. And in order to do so, you go to Object and then Expand. It's already been expanded to smaller like parts, so shapes, which we are not able to see since we are still selecting one bigger object. So what we need to do is right click to ungroup the objects. Now if I double click, I can select some parts of the objects. I'm still within a clipping mask. In order to release that clipping mask, I'm just gonna go back and right click release clipping mask. You see that it broke my tiles and all the tiles that they actually been used in order to create the pattern, even the ones that they were not visible before. I can kind of touch my shapes with my white arrow so I can select them, but if I want to be able to break it even farther, what I need to do is ungroup it again. Right click, ungroup, and then we have release clipping mask in order to release the objects. You have to do that in all of the clones around. Of course, you remember we grouped in the beginning the shapes together. So we need to go even farther and ungroup the shapes once again. That is gonna allow us now to select each of the shapes individually, and I can grab them and rotate some of them and further amend them so you don't see the clones as much as before. Just tiny tweaks here and there, and that is gonna help you break the repetition of the pattern around. And of course, like if I want to hide again all the parts outside, what I can do is select all of the shapes, group them, and use a clipping mask to actually mask them. If I now want to actually hide again all the shapes that they are outside my canvas, what I need to do is select my background so I can actually lock it by going to Object, Lock, Selection, or Command 2, the shortcut. Grab all the other shapes around and group them again, right click to group. Create a new shape that I'm gonna use as a clipping mask, and select both the pattern and the shape and Command 7 to apply clipping mask in order to hide everything else that is outside my canvas. And as we already explained, you can double click on your clipping mask to get within it and see all the shapes that they are there. So you can easily and quickly create patterns in Adobe Illustrator using the pattern function. I would recommend expanding your pattern and further editing to break the repetition and make it more engaging. The detail is usually what makes the biggest difference and makes your work from good to great. Now it's time to move on and learn in the next unit how to work with layers.